Hey everyone, this is Ruth L. Snyder joining you from Get Clients, Build Community. Today I want to talk to you about 3 tips for crafting your discussion questions for Twitter Spaces. Get Clients, Build Community is on a mission. Our mission is to bring inspiration and innovation to authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs around the world. Get Clients, Build Community would like to introduce some of our services. We offer coaching packages, individual coaching or group coaching to help you get from dream to done. We also offer courses from book idea to first draft in 30 days. 5-day challenge and program. Turn Twitter into your lead generation machine using Twitter Spaces. Professional book formatting, providing you with publisher-ready files. Personalized marketing plan, a powerful plan to get clients and build community that suits your personality. We strive for excellence in everything we do, and it shows. If you're looking to write, publish, and/or profit from your books, we can help. Thanks for joining me today. As I mentioned, I want to talk to you today about 3 tips for crafting your discussion questions for Twitter Spaces. And this is assuming that you are going to be running a space similar to mine, where you interview someone every week or bi-weekly, or however often you have your space. So these are tips that I took into consideration when I was crafting my discussion questions. And I will share the questions that I use just to give you an idea of what I have found helpful. So first of all, you need to consider your audience. We talked about this last time, how we need to think about our audience when we are creating our space. Think about what your audience wants to know and what would be helpful for them. There is a reason that you are doing these spaces. I'm assuming you're not just doing spaces to use up your time or because you're bored. I'm assuming that you are doing these spaces to actually help people. So take that into consideration when you are putting your questions together. Think about what they'll want to know, what will be helpful to them, and maybe what questions they would ask if they had the opportunity. The second thing that you need to think about when you are crafting your questions is create questions that are broad enough that you can use them every week, and yet they will be different because each guest that you have will be different. So one of the questions that I use is, tell us about your work previous to Twitter Spaces. And that gives my guests the opportunity to tell us about their work experience, to tell us about things that they are passionate about. And obviously that is going to be different based on who is answering the question that week. So consider your audience and also make the questions broad enough so that you can use them repeatedly and receive different feedback based on who your guest is. And then number 3, consider your topic. So we talked about how you need to pick a topic that's broad enough that you can ask a lot of different people to come onto your space. So consider your broad topic and ask open-ended questions, questions that will allow your guests to share helpful information with your audience. And again, I will give you some ideas. So my space is how to build global communities in 2022 using Twitter Spaces. So my broad topic is building global communities. And then I invite guests who have expertise in different areas. So I have invited authors, I have invited marketers, and people who are into arts and a variety of other things. So some of the questions that I have come up with, I talked about the first question, The second question I usually ask is, when did you start using Twitter Spaces and what do you enjoy about it? And again, this gives the opportunity for them to share from their perspective when they started using Twitter Spaces so that the audience gets an idea of their expertise or experience with Twitter Spaces. And then they can also talk about different things that they enjoy about Twitter Spaces and how it works for them, because that helps the audience figure out whether Twitter Spaces may work for them as well. The third question that I ask is, why do you use Twitter Spaces? So this encourages people to share more information about how they use Twitter Spaces and find it helpful in the work that they are doing. And they are also able to share what works well and maybe what frustrates them. And then the fourth question that I ask is, what suggestions do you have around your area of expertise and Twitter Spaces? So one week we talked about mental health and building healthy communities. So I asked, what suggestions do you have around good mental health and building healthy communities while using Twitter Spaces? We often hear the negative side of social media and how people's mental health is affected negatively often by social media. And so we had a really good discussion about how we could protect people while they're using Twitter Spaces, but also use it as a tool to reach out to those who may be lonely or struggling. So we talked about Twitter Spaces being a tool, and you can use it for good, or you can use it for things that are not so good. The fifth question that I ask in my spaces is, what tips do you have for people who want to host their own space? And of course, I want to encourage as many people to use Twitter Spaces as possible and use it in a good way, because I see so much potential for good in Twitter Spaces. And it's been interesting to see the variety of tips that people share. Some people will talk about how to set the tone. Some people will talk about negative experiences that they've had, like people talking over them or people trying to take over the conversation. And so then we have an opportunity to discuss what to do in those situations. Most people will talk about things that they have found helpful, and setting the tone for a space is something that comes up quite often. That is something that I will be talking about in my next session. So if you want to learn more, tune in again. And then I have a number 6 question, which is, anything else? Is there anything else that you want to share? And this provides an opportunity for my guest to share a call to action or share a current project that they have going on, or invite people to follow them on their social media. So again, it's a broad question, it's open-ended, and it encourages discussion and participation. So those are tips that I have found helpful and used in developing my questions for Twitter Spaces. Again, number 1, consider your audience. What will they want to know? Number 2, consider your broad topic and ask open-ended questions. And number 3, craft questions that you can use repeatedly and yet receive different feedback based on who your guest is and who you're interviewing. Like I said, next time you can tune in and hear 5 ways that I set the tone for my space. We'll see you then. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that you found the content helpful. And if you want to think about next steps in your journey, I would like you to join me in a free coaching call. We can meet for 30 minutes and discuss what you found helpful and where you are feeling stuck. I help entrepreneurs write publish, and profit from their books. And so, if you are in any stage of that journey, whether you're just thinking about a book, or you are in the middle of writing a book, or you are publishing a book, or working on marketing your book, I would love to join you. You'll find the link below. I look forward to talking with you.